we're gathered to mourn the passing and celebrate the life of Alfred Legros. We've come together to grieve and to give thanks for his life. For the next brief space and time, we will cry and laugh almost simultaneously. As human beings, we're the only creatures gifted to feel such a range of emotions all at the same time. It is good that we can all do this together. Whenever a death occurs, those of us who remain enter a space and time that is quite out of the ordinary. Whether we recognize this or not, this is sacred time. A time that holds potential for healing and insight and understanding that does not come readily in ordinary time. With the death of someone we've known and loved, something in each one of us dies too. We are reminded of the frailties and the gifts of our relationships. We become more aware that we live in fragile human bodies. We come to know a heightened consciousness of what is precious and what is true. Indeed, with the passing of a loved one, we encounter our own mortality. We gather in Christian community. This sacred time is heightened by our affirmation that there is eternal life after death. And it is here together where we glimpse the mystery of the mansion with many rooms that Jesus promised his disciples as he prepared to leave them. There is nothing we can touch, nothing we can describe or pin down, nothing concrete, but the mystery of death has the power to bring us to the threshold of faith. In this extraordinary and sacred time, what we encounter is the power of grief and the power of hope. It is here together where we intuit the meaning of Paul's words when he affirms that neither life nor death can separate us from the love of God. So I welcome you to this time out of ordinary time. I invite you to pause, to let it settle in that a precious life has passed from among us. We can use the gift of our worship and our memories to bring comfort and peace and joy and laughter to one another as we remember Fred. And perhaps we will enjoy a trace of Fred's presence as we share together today. Join me in prayer. God of birth and life and death and beyond, on this day, the blessings of earth, on this day, the blessings of sea and sky, to open us to life, to ground us in life, to fill us with life and wonder. And those we love this day, and on every human family, the blessings of heaven, the blessings of earth, the blessings of sky and sea. In the rising of the sun and its setting, in the witness of the moon and its seasons, in the infinity of space and its shining stars, you are God, and we bless you. May we know the harmony of heaven in the relationships of earth, and may we know the expanse of its mystery within us. We take your promised peace with us. Amen. I first met Fred in March of 1995, 25 years ago. Julie took me over to meet him about a month after we started dating. I had no idea at that time what a large part of my life he would become. You go through time just saying, this is my father-in-law, this is Julie's dad, and kind of dismissing, your relationship a little bit. Looking back now, I realize how close we were and what it meant to have him as a friend. It's no secret that Fred battled depression. He had many demons in his life. After his mother passed, it became even more debilitating. In moments, I've often felt regret for Fred. Regret for the pain that he suffered, regret that he could not freely live his life the way that he dreamed, or apply his talents because of the daily struggle. But now, I realize how unfair that is of me to do to him. Unfair to judge his life by what I know what he wanted to do and when is unable to, and not to celebrate and give him credit for everything that he did accomplish. Preparing for today has really allowed me to celebrate who he was and all that he did do. I always knew Fred was born in Pennsylvania. Until recently, we just learned that he was born in Hastings, Pennsylvania. I had never heard of Hastings, so I looked it up. It's about 100 miles east of Pittsburgh. The town is still under 1,500 people. It's tiny. Very rural. He grew up there. He grew up poor, moving from town to town. He always talked about The Grapes of Wrath being his favorite book because it was a description of his life. Moving, chasing jobs, chasing opportunity, packing up the entire family in the car and moving. And I'm sure his 5 sisters could all tell us stories. Nancy, Mary Ann, Barbara, Betty Jo, and Shirley can all tell us about being packed up in the car with their parents and going from town to town. He started working at a very young age, picking fruit in the orchards. I'm sure most of us in this room have heard the story of why he started working. He wanted a haircut, that he wanted it his own way, and his dad told him, if you want your own haircut, you need to go get a job. Well, that's what Fred did. From talking with Fred, I always got the impression that working in the orchards was one of the happiest times of his life. Fred grew up with a very stern father, a man that was not always accepting of Fred's sensitive nature. Working in the orchards, Fred was able to give a hard day's work, earn a hard day's pay, but more importantly, get hard work respect. Even though he was still young, after proving himself a hard worker, he was trusted to be in charge of others, he was entrusted with equipment, and he was entrusted with people's livelihood. And that meant something to him. Despite Alfred Sr. being hard on Fred, Fred learned so much from him. Fred was the kind of guy that you went to if you needed to fix anything. He could figure it out. I'm not saying when he was done that it would be the way the manual told you to do it, that he wouldn't have parts left over, but it would be functional. He was a talented mechanic and loved to figure out how things worked, or how something was built. You couldn't walk into his shop, or his bedroom, or any room of his house, or his car, and not find parts or pieces of something that he took apart to either figure out how it worked or to improve it. That always made it back together, though. And he knew what he was talking about. He knew his stuff. He would call me up and ask me for help to come fix his cooler, come fix this on the car. And without looking at it, without checking it out, he would always tell me what was wrong with it. I would tell him I'd come over and take a look, but sure enough, every single time I went there, he knew exactly that water was hitting the water pump and shorted it out, or the spider threw a pipe. He always knew exactly what the problem was just by listening to it. He would do the same thing with cars. And he'd always, you'd pull up in your car and he'd be listening to it, and he would throw out some technical something, he'd be like, your Johnson rod's not hitting your flux capacitor. And sure enough, every time, he knew exactly what was wrong, what you needed to do. And cars. He loved cars. He loved old cars, muscle cars. And he always knew the make and model and year of any car that he ever saw. He'd be driving along and he'd be like, look at that 1964 Buick Skylark, or that 1963 Pontiac Tempest. I just kind of, he thought he was like one of those guys like throwing out something because he knew I didn't know enough about it. He was just throwing out years. But, when I spent more time with him at home just watching TV, he'd watch car shows, and every single time he would tell you what kind of car they were showing and what year it was before they displayed it on the TV. I learned how right he was. I think one of the things that initially bonded us and what made him like me is that I grew up welding, and I was the son of a welder. He took great pride in welding and being the senior research welder at Boeing. And he did have great skill. Whether he was welding on an airplane, working on a crusher at Portland Cement, or working on his art, he took great pride in his work and what people would see. His artwork. He loved his artwork, and he loved to share it with others. I know we all enjoyed seeing his creations, and hopefully we all have some. I know at times it would be frustrating for all of us to deal with his collection of art supplies and the things that we would find. But if we stop and think about his supplies through Fred's eyes for a moment, he never saw a junk piece of tubing. He saw a moonbeam or a sunbeam. He didn't see an empty beer bottle. He saw a river scene made out of crushed glass, or an old piece of mesquite as the backdrop to a scene. I compare it to when we were kids and you would look at clouds and see objects in the sky. You'd see animals and whatever else. As we got older, most of us just saw clouds. I really wish I could always see the world the way he did. Not for what things were, but for what they could be. I really think that was a gift that he was blessed to have. Being a welder, he naturally became a fabricator, and that combined with his mechanical nature and his ability to see potential in things, he came up with countless inventions or improvements to other machines. He had drawings and plans of real machines ready to be built. I can't count the times there was some product came on the TV on a commercial, and he would say that he thought about that 10 years ago and he should have patented it. Going through papers, we found so many schematics, so many drawings. Wondering if we should take another look and see if there's some cash cow we can find. He loved music. He enjoyed listening to music, but what he loved was making music. I only got to hear him play his guitar a few times, but I was impressed every time. But what I will remember was his piano playing. He had told me for years that he could play the piano, but I had not had the opportunity to hear it in action. One evening, I think it was Thanksgiving or Christmas, he was at our house and he started playing the piano. And he played all night long. It must have been Christmas because he played Christmas carols, just one right after the other. And he knew them all off the top of his head. He wasn't using sheet music, he was just playing and singing. having a good time, entertaining the rest of us. He told me he self-taught himself to play the piano out of spite because someone told him that he couldn't learn. I think that really sums up Fred well. He was very underestimated, but no matter the challenge, he rose to it and proved any doubter wrong. He was very intelligent and could keep up on current events. I was always surprised that he knew exactly what was going on in the world, even though most days he didn't leave his house. He enjoyed reading and had an extensive vocabulary, way better than my own. Every time he said something and you said something and you guys didn't agree, he would always come back with, "That's preposterous." I always hear him saying that. I think using big words was another way to prove any doubter of his intelligence. It's funny, in 25 years, I never had the opportunity to Fred to cook for me, with the exception of French fries. his legendary French fries. He talked about making food all the time and the places that he'd cooked, like Ye Old Lantern. But somehow we never found the time for Fred to cook a spread for us. I think that'll be one of the big regrets I have. There's so many topics and stories that you can talk about Fred. Going and selling stuff at the swap meets. Cleaning offices with the girls. Going to log cabin building school. Working at the mines. Driving a truck. Living in Seattle. Surfing in California. And each of these stories he would tell you in such detail, and I've heard them so many times, it's hard to distinguish whether I was there or he just told me the story at this point. You know, surfing in California, I have this perfect image of him wearing cut-off blue jeans and swim trunks, and he carried a piece of bubble gum in his pocket to get the taste of salt water out of his mouth. Or cleaning offices when he had the girls on the weekends, and Julie curled up in the office manager's chair, playing. I'm going to miss hearing the same stories. Fred was an athlete. He loved to share the memories of running cross country in high school. Or how he and his friend would take off running Saturday morning and not stop running until the evening, covering 40 or 50 miles that day. I know sometimes what he said was far-fetched, but who cares? The joy that he would get in telling this story made it all worth listening to. I'm sure some of his stories were embellished, reliving the glory days, but one man does add a little spice to a story to keep it interesting. He always had big dreams of things to do. Even after receiving his diagnosis, he still had plans of getting better and building his garden with a stream flowing right through it, and that stream continuing on right through his living room. He talked about building a professional kitchen with a wok and a grill and everything being stainless steel. He had plans to build a greenhouse and to get a new car. Even though he didn't actually accomplish all of it, it makes me happy that he had those dreams, that he never gave up. That he always had hope, never gave up on a dream. I think he would want none of us to ever give up on our dreams. There's one more thing I need to say. Someone I need to thank. I want to thank my wife for all she did for her dad. She had such an unconditional love for Fred. When he did things that were maddening, it hurt her. But she hung in there. She stepped up to the plate every time and tried to help him. She was sweet and kind, and she always made Fred feel like he was loved and welcome, no matter how odd or broken he became. The best way I can describe it is that she treated him with the kind of unearthly love that I feel privileged to have seen, with such extraordinary grace and devotion. We all thank you. So at this time, we're going to watch a slideshow of Fred's life, and after that, we're going to process graveside for the final prayer and interment.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamt I held you in my arms. When I awoke, dear, I was mistaken. So I hung my head and cried. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. Never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Apron strings, hanging empty, crazy things. My body tells me I want someone to tie to my apron strings. Apron strings, waiting for you, pretty things that I could call you. I want someone to tie to my lonely apron strings. Your baby looks just like you when you were young, and he looks at me with eyes that shine, and I wish that he were mine. Then I go home to my apron strings, cold and lonely for time brings thoughts that only will be quiet when someone clings to my apron strings. And I'll be perfect in my own way. When you cry, we'll be there. I'll sing to you and comb your hair. All your troubles I will share. For apron strings can be used for other things than what they're meant for. You'd be happy wrapped in my apron strings. You'd be happy wrapped in my apron strings.
He was a giant, and I was just a kid. I was always trying to do everything he did. I can still remember every lesson he taught me. Growing up, learning how to be like my old man. He was a lion. We were a father's pride, but I was defiant when he made me walk the line. He knew how to lift me up and when to let me fall. Looking back, he always had a plan. My old man. My old man, feel the callus on his hands and dusty overalls. My old man, now I finally understand. I have a lot to learn from my old man. Now I'm a giant, got a son of my own. He's always trying to go everywhere I go. Do the best I can to raise him up the right way, hoping that he someday wants to be like his old man. as he's looking down. My old man, I hope he's proud of who I am. I'm trying to fill the boots of my old man. My old man.
When I think back on these times and the dreams we left behind, I'll be glad 'cause I was blessed to get to have you in my life. When I look back on these days, I'll look and see your face. You were right there for me. In my dreams I'll always see you soar above the sky. In my heart there'll always be a place for you for all my life. I'll keep a part of you with me, and everywhere I am there you'll be.
I know your life on earth was troubled, and only you could know the pain. You weren't afraid to face the devil. You were no stranger to the rain. So go rest high on that mountain. The sun, your work on earth is done. Go to heaven and shout love for the Father and the Son. Oh, how we cried the day you left us. We gathered round your grave to grieve. Wish I could see angels' faces when they